A sleek silver hanger scrapes sharply against a polished brass rod. Alara stares blankly into a walk-in closet overflowing with silk, wool, and denim. Sunlight streams through the penthouse window, illuminating countless discarded outfits on the floor. She runs a manicured finger over a heavy velvet blazer, completely dissatisfied. The modern human possesses an endless arsenal of fabric, yet constantly feels entirely exposed. A distant car horn blares from the bustling concrete canyon far below. This daily, agonizing ritual of choosing an identity is an ancient, hardwired obsession. The scene violently shifts backward across 170,000 years of history. A scorching sun beats down mercilessly on the golden African savanna. Tall elephant grass sways in the dry, suffocating afternoon wind. Kale crouches near a muddy watering hole, his skin bare, hairless, and sweating profusely. Millions of microscopic sweat glands work overtime to keep the hairless ape alive. A herd of zebras grazes peacefully in the shimmering heat haze. Every other large mammal on this continent wears a thick, permanent coat of fur. Kale dips his calloused hands into the cool water, washing the dust from his chest. The evolutionary loss of fur was a brilliant strategy for long-distance running. A brilliant blue dragonfly lands gently on a dry, cracked reed. Early humans did not wake up in this blistering heat and suddenly desire a heavy sweater. The conventional myth claims that clothing was invented purely to survive freezing temperatures. But a microscopic, deeply unsettling clue tells a completely different story. A highly magnified view reveals a body louse clinging to woven fabric. This parasitic insect genetically diverged from the common head louse millennia ago. Body lice cannot survive on bare skin. They require the shelter of folded garments. Their sudden evolutionary appearance pinpoints the exact moment humans started getting dressed. This divergence happened tens of thousands of years before anyone migrated into the freezing north. Elora pulls a bright crimson silk scarf from the top shelf of her closet. She wraps it carefully around her neck, adjusting the knot in the tall mirror. The bright color serves absolutely no thermal purpose in the climate-controlled room. Back on the prehistoric savanna, Kale picks up a rough, reddish-brown rock. It is a chunk of raw ochre, crumbling slightly between his strong fingers. A massive baobab tree casts a long, twisted shadow across the dry earth. He grinds the ochre into a fine powder against a flat basalt stone. Mixing it with a few drops of water, he creates a thick, vibrant paste. Kale drags 3 fingers across his chest, leaving stark, bloody red lines on his bare skin. The wind picks up, swirling dust around his ankles in a miniature tornado. This is not for physical protection. This is a loud, visual broadcast to the tribe. The fundamental drive to decorate the body predates the actual invention of clothing. A flock of vultures circles high above, tiny black dots against the bright blue canvas. Kale reaches for a spotted leopard hide resting on a nearby boulder. He drapes the heavy skin over his left shoulder, tying it loosely with a strip of sinew. The hide is hot, uncomfortable, and completely impractical for hunting in the afternoon sun. But as he walks back to the tribal camp, the posture of his peers changes instantly. A young hunter steps aside, lowering his gaze in a silent display of deference. The spotted fur screams of danger, of skill, of a predator successfully conquered. Alara adjusts the sharp lapels of a designer jacket, admiring the tailored silhouette. A gold watch catches the light, flashing brilliantly against her slender wrist. The earliest clothing was the original luxury brand, the ultimate status symbol. A primitive tribal fire crackles, sending orange sparks dancing into the twilight sky. Humans are compulsively obsessed with hierarchy and signaling their exact place within it. The leopard hide says everything before Kale even opens his mouth to speak. Dark storm clouds gather rapidly on the distant horizon, threatening a sudden downpour. For thousands of years, these rough animal skins served as pure social currency. But the turning of the planetary gears soon forced a brutal change of rules. The golden savanna violently freezes over, replaced by a blindingly white glacial landscape. Jagged ice formations rise like jagged teeth against a pale, gray sky. The temperature plummets, turning the moisture in the air into sharp, biting frost. A massive, woolly mammoth leaves deep, heavy footprints in the fresh snow. The social signal abruptly transforms into the ultimate technology for basic survival. Kale's descendants huddle deep inside a dark, echoing limestone cave. The wind howls aggressively outside, trying to force its way through the narrow entrance. A woman sits by a small fire, holding a tiny, sharply pointed sliver of bone. It is the first needle, featuring a perfectly drilled eye at its base. She threads a thin piece of animal tendon through the microscopic hole. This tiny object represents an unimaginable cognitive leap in human engineering. She pieces together two thick furs, pushing the bone needle through the tough leather. The concept of tailored, fitted clothing is born in the depths of the Ice Age. A spark pops from the fire, landing harmlessly on the damp cavern floor. Garments are no longer just draped. They are engineered to seal heat against the skin. Alara zips up a sleek, insulated winter coat before stepping out onto the balcony. The cold city air hits her face, but her core remains perfectly warm. The bone needle allowed our species to conquer every hostile corner of the globe. A thick layer of snow blankets the dense pine forest stretching beyond the cave. Homo sapiens were not the only ones to figure out this brilliant survival tactic. Deep in a neighboring valley, a heavily built Neanderthal scrapes a bear hide. He uses a specialized flint tool, his thick muscles working with practiced rhythm. The evolutionary cousins of humanity possessed their own sophisticated leatherworking traditions. They too wore clothes, fighting off the freezing death of the Pleistocene epoch. A frozen river cracks loudly under the immense pressure of the shifting ice. The impulse to wrap the body is a hallmark of high intelligence facing extreme conditions. Yet, humans could not resist the urge to make these survival tools beautiful. The scene shifts to a bustling Neolithic village beside a fast-flowing river. The heavy animal skins have been replaced by light, woven plant fibers. A wooden loom clatters rhythmically as a weaver passes a shuttle back and forth. Strands of flax are magically transformed into large, flexible sheets of linen. A clay pot bubbles over a fire, filled with dark blue dye extracted from crushed berries. Fabric is dipped into the boiling liquid, emerging completely transformed. The color serves no practical purpose other than to declare a specific identity. A young girl runs past, her bright blue tunic flapping in the warm breeze. Textiles become the new currency, shaping the economies of emerging empires. Alara walks down a crowded metropolitan sidewalk, surrounded by a sea of different styles. A businessman hurries past in a dark, structured suit, radiating authority. A teenager leans against a brick wall, wearing ripped denim and a faded band shirt. Every single person on this street is silently screaming who they are. The yellow traffic light blinks, reflecting off a puddle in the gutter. We use fabric to broadcast our danger, our availability, our wealth, and our tribe. A peacock flares its magnificent tail feathers in a lush green botanical garden. But the peacock's display is biologically fixed, incapable of cultural nuance. Human fashion is a constantly shifting, incredibly complex language of symbols. The ancient impulse to paint the skin with ochre never truly faded away. It merely evolved into the multi-billion-dollar textile industry of the modern world. Alara pauses in front of a massive glass storefront, eyeing a mannequin. The mannequin wears an elaborate, embroidered silk gown, shimmering under spotlights. The silk represents trade routes that once connected vast, warring continents. Wars were fought, and blood was spilled, over the control of fine threads. A falling autumn leaf lands softly on the shoulder of Alara's expensive coat. She brushes it off, adjusting her posture to project confidence and grace. We are still the hairless apes, desperately trying to prove our worth to the pack. The leopard hide has simply been replaced by the designer label. A subway train rumbles beneath the pavement, shaking the concrete sidewalk. The biological vulnerability of nakedness was conquered a long time ago, but the psychological vulnerability of being judged remains as potent as ever. The state will literally arrest you if you step out of your house without this armor. Nudity is a crime because it strips away the carefully constructed social order. A police siren wails in the distance, a stark reminder of societal rules. We are trapped in a system where fabric dictates our level of civilization. Kale stands victorious over a hunted gazelle, his tribe cheering in the background. His spotted cape solidifies his position as the undisputed leader of the band. The sun begins to set, casting an orange and purple glow over the ancient world. The connection between Kale and Alara is a direct, unbroken line of vanity. A stray dog scrounges for food near a modern trash can, perfectly content in its fur. Animals simply exist in their environment, requiring no external validation. Humans must actively build their second skin every single morning. The closet door swings shut with a soft, satisfying click in the penthouse. Alara finally steps into an elevator, the polished metal doors sliding closed. We get cold, we get creative, and we endlessly complicate our existence. A needle pierces leather, pulling a thick thread tight against the seam. The act of sewing is an act of defiance against the harshness of nature. A weaving shuttle darts across the warp, locking a vibrant red thread into place. The act of dyeing fabric is a desperate plea to be seen and understood. A neon billboard flashes overhead, advertising the latest seasonal trends. The urge to consume and display is hardwired into the deepest parts of the brain. We complain that we have nothing to wear while staring at a mountain of clothes. This complaint is not about a lack of physical covering for the body. It is a profound existential panic about not having the right identity for the day. A flock of pigeons scatters as a loud delivery truck backfires on the avenue. Without the right outfit, we feel vulnerable to the harsh judgment of the tribe. The ancient fear of being cast out of the group still haunts our modern psychology. Kyle sits by the fire, repairing a tear in his precious leopard skin. The flickering flames cast dancing shadows across his intense, focused face. He knows that without this garment, his authority might easily be challenged. The bone needle rests on a flat stone, a silent testament to human ingenuity. A heavy snowstorm begins to bury the entrance of the Siberian cave. Inside, a family wears layered furs, perfectly insulated from the lethal frost. Their survival is entirely dependent on the structural integrity of their stitches. The history of humanity is literally woven into the seams of our garments. A pair of sharp scissors cuts effortlessly through a bolt of black satin. A tailor meticulously measures a collar, ensuring the perfect, commanding fit. Every piece of clothing tells a story of survival, of innovation, and of extreme vanity. The dark storm clouds finally break, unleashing a torrential downpour on the savannah. Kale pulls his hide tighter around his shoulders, seeking shelter under a rock overhang. Alara opens a sleek black umbrella, shielding her expensive jacket from the city rain. Raindrops splatter violently against the asphalt, creating tiny, chaotic ripples. Time separates them, but the fundamental instinct to cover and display unites them completely. We are the only creatures burdened with the task of dressing ourselves. A stray gust of wind blows a discarded newspaper down the wet street. The psychological weight of the wardrobe is a uniquely human affliction. We transformed a simple survival tool into a complex labyrinth of social meaning. The tiny body louse evolved, thriving in the warm folds of our new invention. A highly magnified shot shows the insect navigating a forest of cotton fibers. Nature quickly adapted to the artificial environments we chose to strap to our bodies. The sun breaks through the modern skyline, reflecting blindingly off-glass skyscrapers. Alara lowers her designer sunglasses, stepping confidently into a crowded crosswalk. The urban runway is no different from the ancient gathering around the fire. We are all desperately trying to convince each other of our value. A single thread of silk catches the sunlight, gleaming like spun gold. The mystery of the naked ape is solved not by the cold, but by the ego. We wear clothes because we cannot stand the silence of being unadorned. The fabric speaks for us, shouting our existence into the vast, indifferent void. Next time you open your closet, remember the ancient weight of your decision. You are putting on your armor, your language, and your history, all at once.